Hey everybody, Career Coach Randy here, and welcome to this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. Right now, if you're job searching or if you're trying to think about your next career decision, one of these situations might describe you. Maybe you've been in the same job for 3 years and you're kind of spinning your wheels a little bit. Maybe you've been in that same job 4 years, 5 years, more than that, and maybe you're feeling frustrated. Also, maybe you want to advance in your job, but you don't know where to start. Well, if any of those describe you, I want to encourage you. I think you're going to find this month's podcast episode helpful. I'm going to walk you through a tool that you want to have in your toolbox to help you advance in your career and take some purposeful steps to do that. In this month's episode, we're talking about how to have a career goal conversation, and all that starts right now on the Work with Purpose podcast. Stick around. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Career Coach Randy. Glad to be with you today. Thanks so much for watching and for joining us here on this month's episode. So if you're new to our career podcast, we are a monthly career podcast, and we also are seasonal. So that means in our podcast, we really try to help you go from being career confused to being a purposeful person. And we try to do that within 20 to 30 minutes in each of our podcast episodes. We're a seasonal podcast, so what that means is you can expect an episode from us each month on the fourth Friday of the month during January to June each year when we do our podcast seasons. And so again, thanks so much for being here with us on this month's podcast episode. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're joining us. And so as we get into this month's topic, we're talking all about how to have a career goal conversation. I think you'll find it really practical and valuable for where you are on your career journey. So let's get into that right now, how to have a career goal conversation. Okay, so as we start off on this month's topic, what is a career goal conversation? I really wanted to break it down with some common language or some common understanding. And so a career goal conversation, you can kind of see that on our slides here if you're watching the video version of our show. I would describe it to you as that it's a discussion that you have where you share about your long-term career goals, and you also learn about how you can grow or you can advance in your role, or how you can grow, how you can advance at your current company. And so besides understanding what a career goal conversation is, I also thought it's important of who can you have, or who ideally should you have your career goal conversation with. And so I would say from my years of coaching or guiding folks in making intentional, purposeful career decisions, if they're wanting to grow, wanting to advance in their career, I do encourage them for career goal conversations. Number one, you want to try to have that with your direct boss, your manager, your supervisor as a starting place. But I also realize too that that sometimes that relationship might not be as great, might not be as healthy, or some other nuanced things with that. And so as a second idea, what I've encouraged folks to consider doing in the past is if you're trying to do that career goal conversation and have something like that, if your direct supervisor might not be an option for that for different reasons, then that's when you might want to connect with your company's human resources team or HR team or an relevant HR staff member to kind of help work through that process and help you grow a little bit more in that. So that's what a career goal conversation is. Couple of ideas of thinking about who can you have that with. And then the next part I wanted to walk you through on this is a couple of reasons of why to have a career goal conversation anyway, why to be thinking about it, why to plan for it, why to engage with it. And so a couple of reasons of that is that with a career goal conversation, you really can learn how to grow or how to advance at your current company. And so what I mean is, like, let's say if you want to change departments, or if you want to grow in your role, or grow to, maybe do an internal transfer to a different business unit or different things like that. With the career goal conversation, if things go ideally as they should, you can end up with information and facts. I'll talk about that in a second, but you can end up with information about what are those needed steps or needed internal processes or needed kind of checklist or requirements that your company has. From that career goal conversation, you learn about What are those needed steps or needed processes for your company that you need to complete to kind of help you actually get on that path of advancing? And so the other thing too is that from that career goal conversation, you want to engage with it because you end up with actual facts, right? That you can use to help you make an informed decision. So without a career goal conversation, what I really like to guide and encourage adults that I might coach about something like this is that without that career goal conversation, you're left just guessing for what you think you need to do to advance into that role. You're guessing of what education you might need, or you're guessing of, hey, what process or what checklist of steps that you need to finish to advance how you might like to. And so that career goal conversation, you end up as you work through that, again, depending on a lot of things, you end up with those actual facts and steps that you can use to help you evaluate and really think through your career goals and how you want to advance and the processes and things that are part of that at your current company or your current organization. And so again, when you've got that facts, the third point that I had up there is it really lessens you guessing and you kind of assuming that that training that you're doing or the education that you're looking at or that process you think that's recognized by your company. It lessens the chances of you just guessing that that is what the requirement is for your company, and it can really help you in the long run. So those are a couple of ideas about what a career goal conversation is, and then who to have it with, and also a couple of reasons for why you might want to engage with that anyway. And so after this break, we're going to I've got a couple more tips for how to help you have a career goal conversation and some tips to help you prepare for that. And so that's coming up right after this break. And you are watching and listening to the Work with Purpose podcast, and we'll be right back. Hey everybody, Career Coach Randy here from the Work with Purpose podcast. Number one, I want to say thanks so much for watching and for listening to this episode of our podcast. And if you are finding our podcast episode and our content helpful, I do want to invite you to do two quick things. I would love it if you would, number one, consider liking or subscribing or following us on our YouTube channel, or liking or subscribing to us wherever you get your podcast and your favorite podcast app. And then the second thing, I would love it if you would do, if you're finding our content helpful, I would love it if you would leave a positive rating and review on your chosen podcast platform, wherever you're connecting with us. The reason I would love it if you would do those two things is when you leave a rating or a review, when you give the like button, when you subscribe to us on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform, what that does, it puts our podcast and our intentionally free career content in front of new people so they have the chance to really learn about our podcast. And the big deal is that when our content's in front of new people, it's more chances to really help encourage, support, and resource others, maybe just like yourself, encourage and support others who are going about their career journey and trying to help them do that in a purposeful and intentional way. So again, I would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review, and consider liking or subscribing or following us on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. And right now, let's get back to the show. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much, and welcome back to the Work with Purpose podcast. This month on our podcast episode, we're talking all about how to have a career goal conversation. And so far, we've talked some common terms and things like that about what a career goal conversation is, who to have it with, a couple of reasons of why you would want to engage with that or think about doing that. And so right now, as we continue the topic, I wanted to put in front of you a couple ways of what you can share about in a career goal conversation and how to prep generally for something like that. So let me pull up my slides here if you're checking out the video version of our podcast. And so for a career goal conversation, what I wanted to put in front of you first is that a couple of things you can learn. And so really what you learn from a career goal conversation, it's really going to be dependent, or it depends. Number one, I maybe shared this a little bit earlier in our episode, is that from a career goal conversation, you can learn what are those needed facts or steps or internal processes for how you could advance or grow into the role you'd like to at your current company, right? Whether you want to move to a new role or move to a new department. Number two, again, you learn those actual facts about what steps you need to take, what maybe additional degree or education you might need to advance into that role. And it really lessens you guessing for that. And then from the career goal conversation through that process and you getting the facts and steps and information, really as an employee, as a staff member, you end up with information that you can use and you can evaluate and you can really to use that information and use what you learn to help you inform your next steps, whether on ideas of, hey, based on that career goal conversation, you've learned, hey, okay, you're on the right track with those steps or trainings that you're doing to move into your next role or that different department. Or maybe you learn differently, that maybe you've learned at your current company there might not be as many opportunities that you thought about, and so maybe you've needed to your next step is you choose to continue to work as best as you can in your current position, and I would encourage anyone to do that. Continue to work well and ideally finish well in your current position, and exit that position in as professional and upright and of integrity as a way as possible, and then on your own time, but between that ending time of your current job, that's when you're searching for that next opportunity, right? So if you're not finding that you've got room to advance or there's not opportunities in your current company, commit to finish well, leave well when that time comes, but then on your own time, you're searching for that next job opportunity or next company where you might find a better opportunity for growth. So those are a couple of ideas of what you can learn from that career goal conversation by engaging with that. And then the second part of this topic I wanted to share about with you as well is what you can say and what you can share about. The reason I wanted to put this in front of you is that as I reflect back on my career coaching and coaching experience with adults who are making, trying to make intentional, purposeful career decisions. A lot of times somebody might feel like they're drawing a blank or they're not sure what to share about, what to say about. And so you can kind of look on our slides here if you're watching the video version of our show, or you can check out the show notes with this episode, and we've got more details on that there. The biggest one that I would encourage you to think about if you've not done a career goal conversation before, the biggest one I would say that you can bring with you as you go into that conversation is choose to share about and discuss with your supervisor or your company's HR team, discuss in like demeanor wise, go for a spirit of being thankful and a spirit of being grateful. So meaning choose to bring that perspective with you of, hey, you're grateful for your position at this specific company, even if it might not be an ideal job, even if it might not connect with your longer term goals, you choosing that spirit of thankfulness and gratefulness. This gets into like the intangible parts of who you are. It says a lot about your character, or if you're not sharing that perspective, it says a lot about maybe your lack of character, or that's maybe something going on in the other parts of your life that are affecting the work aspect of your life. So really choose to bring in that grateful spirit, that thankful spirit with you and I would say from a genuine place. I wouldn't say this is something to manufacture or things with you, but I would say if that aspect might be tough for you, if you're thinking about a career goal conversation, that might mean as a job seeker or candidate, maybe you consider to put more effort into your planning or more effort into your brainstorming for that career goal conversation before you have it. Because coming in with that spirit of thankfulness and gratefulness, that really says a lot about your character and your demeanor as a professional. And I would tell you as well is you bring you to every company that you work for. And so if you're in a company right now and that thankful, grateful spirit for a spot on that team that you're a part of or in that department, if you go to a different company and that spirit is not part of kind of ingrained of natural or developed part of who you are, you're going to bring that same spirit with you to that next company. And you might find that you end up facing those same kinds of issues, just in a different company, but you're the same person. So that's the first thing I would say is with a career goal conversation, prep by thinking about how can you develop that grateful or thankful spirit, work to communicate about that in your career goal conversation. The second thing with a career goal conversation I encourage folks to be ready to share about is your long-term career goals. So your long-term career goals of how do you see yourself growing in your current department or at this company that you're a part of, just thinking kind of that timeline, really trying to keep it specific to that environment that you're a part of or what you're thinking about, what ideas you have, and trying to ask questions around that or share about that with your direct supervisor or your manager. And I would say to you with this, so with a career goal conversation, a lot of how it goes will really be dependent. So it'll depend on your work environment, different things like that. And again, like I shared earlier, you might need to plan more first, or brainstorm first of what you want to say, how you want to share about it as you're going through that. And again, shared this a little bit earlier. The point of a career goal conversation, you end up with that information that you can use to help you evaluate and help you determine your next steps to help you make an informed decision. All right. So, one thing I did want to add too from this career goal conversation topic is that, if you're somebody who's job searching right now, or if you know somebody who's job searching, with the idea of a career goal conversation, you might even be thinking about a different career choice altogether. Maybe you're thinking about maybe changing companies or doing a career pivot into a different industry or things like that. And so if that might be you, or if you know somebody who is trying to think through that, I did want to put in front of you a really great career resource. It's a career training that I put together called Real Help for Remote Work. If you want to check that out, it's a lot of different resources put together. You can find that at our website, www.real-help-for-remote.work. There's a dash between each word. So again, www.cast.com/real-help-for-remote-work. And when you go there, that'll have a lot of different information about what's included and stuff like that. So the Real Help for Remote Work career training resource is available in a couple of different versions. There's an audio version if you're a more on-the-go person. There's a video version and an audio-video bundle and things like that. Again, you can check that out by visiting our website at WWPcast.com. So beyond all of that, as we kind of keep moving along with our episode, right now as we kind of wrap things up here in a little bit, now we're at the part of our show where we give you that one idea or takeaway to help apply everything that we've been talking about, and that's called our purposeful point. And so now let's get into this month's purposeful point. All right, so here is this month's purposeful point. Again, that one key takeaway for this month's episode, as we've been talking about career goal conversations. And our purposeful point for this month is this: don't just guess on how to advance in your career, but plan and have a career goal conversation. Again, this month's purposeful point: don't just guess on how to advance in your career or think you know how to do that. I would encourage you, and I hope this episode has really tried to drive it home for you. It's important for you to brainstorm, plan, and really engage with and have a career goal conversation, ideally with your supervisor or with your company's HR team to really help you in that process. All right, so as we are kind of wrapping up this month's episode, I wanted to say thank you so much for watching and for listening to this month's episode. As well, I wanted to put in front of you as well is that if you have liked this podcast episode, and if you want to go a little bit deeper, I do want to encourage you to go deeper with this month's podcast episode by checking out our show notes. So if you want to check out our show notes, you can visit our website, www.pcast.com/ in all caps, S7E2. Again, www.pcast.com/ all caps, S, the number 7, E, the number 2. And so when you check out our show notes there, that'll give you kind of some information about that. The show notes, it'll have timestamps for what will be covered in the episode, some more links that were used, and even kind of more deeper things like reflection questions, a couple things like that. I would encourage you to go a little bit deeper with our show notes from this episode. All right, and so with that, that brings us to the end of this month's podcast episode. Again, I want to say thank you so much for watching, for listening, and for engaging with us here on the Work with Purpose podcast. And until our next month's episode, remember, I'm Career Coach Randy. You've been watching, listening to the Work with Purpose podcast. As we finish up, I want to encourage you with two things as you leave. So number one, just remember you've been made with purpose, so work with purpose. And then the second thing is this: remember that the best work that you can ever do is to serve and help someone else, and to do all that for the glory of Jesus Christ. I'll see you next time.